Hi my spoopies, it is Kaylee, and I wanted to do a quick makeup tutorial, a 90s grunge themed makeup tutorial. I know the 90s are huge right now. It's kind of fun and nostalgic as someone who grew up in the 90s, and the 90s were like, that was my kind of developmental years, if you know what I mean. Like I was like young, I was like a tween before we had that term, and a teenager in the 90s. Yeah, it's interesting to me to see this resurgence of interest in the 90s and 90s stuff. And I see a lot of like grunge or soft grunge makeup tutorials out there. I'm not saying I can do it any better or anything than anyone else. I just thought it might be fun to take a crack at attempting some grunge makeup myself as someone who grew up in the 90s and was really into looking at fashion and makeup and stuff at the time, like going through Delia's catalogs and stuff, and I was one of those like young teenagers that my mom really frowned on me wearing makeup, and I didn't really know anything about it, so I didn't wear makeup for the longest time. And I just remember being like, oh, I wish I could be like, you know, these cool girls in this Delia's catalog. But yeah, so I'm starting off with a clean washed face, and for my primer today I'm going to be using Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser from Maybelline. And by the way guys, I'm not saying anybody has to use the exact same products I'm using. If you have something similar or something you prefer to use, of course go ahead and use that. I just tell the brands and the names of the products because that seems to be the thing to do on the interwebs, and I guess people just like to know, are my pores erased? I can't tell. Alright, next I'm going to be doing concealer. Right now the concealer I'm most into is this concealer from NARS, and it is in the shade Light 2 or Vanilla. And as you can see, I have quite a few blemishes right now, a lot of redness. So I'm going to have to touch up a lot of spots. And now I'm just going to blend out my concealer with my beauty blender. I'm going to move on to my foundation. Right now I'm using a powder foundation from MAC. It is the Studio Fix powder foundation in the color NW20. And next I'm going to be doing just a little bit of contouring with the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. And I'm just going to mainly focus on contouring my cheekbones because the 90s are all about the heroin chic and the super, I don't know, sharp angles. So I'm going to be using the shade Somber from the Kat Von D contour palette, and I'm using a tapered kabuki brush. Then I'm going to take a round kabuki and just buff my contour out a little bit and blend it. Alright, next I'm going to set my look with some setting powder, and right now my favorite is the mystifying, mattifying setting powder from Lunatic Cosmetics. And I'm also going to be using just a regular kabuki brush. So next I'm going to do my eyebrows, and if I remember correctly, I believe in the 90s kind of strong, more natural brows were in. Sort of like they are again nowadays, but I think they were a little bit more natural. They weren't quite as sculpted and angled as the modern the modern eyebrow trends are. So that's what I'm going to be going for. I'm going to be using my Anastasia of Beverly Hills brow brush, where it is an angled brush on one end, and on the other end is a spoolie, and I'm going to be using my NYX eyebrow gel in the color Chocolate. And once I'm done filling in my brows, I'm just going to spoolie the front part of them a little bit just to kind of fade out the front part of the brows and give it more of a natural, like, fade look. And if you wanted to at this point, you could go ahead and do blush and stuff too. I'm not going to, just because from what I personally remember of the 90s, is blush wasn't a very big deal. I mean, there was blush, I think there was a little bit of blush at times, especially if it was like a more girly look, but for the grunge look, everything was about being super pasty and basically being like really sick and like, I don't know, like that, like I said, that whole heroin chic thing. So next for my eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the Venus Grunge palette from Lime Crime. And before anyone, like, you know, comes out of the woodwork to tell me I'm evil for supporting Lime Crime and how Lime Crime is the devil, I already know this. I made a video about why I got this palette in my monthly favorites, but in short, I got it because I wanted it. I didn't want to support Lime Crime, so I bought it through a third-party seller. I bought it from Amazon, and I'm going to be using a flat defining shadow brush. And I'm going to start with this rich dark brown color called Icon. And I'm basically just going to concentrate it at the outer corners of my eyes. Now, the cat eye look wasn't very big in the 90s from what I remember. That's more of a modern comeback thing. It was more about being really smoked out and looking, I don't know, like very, like almost ghoulish or zombie-ish, but in a sexy way, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm saying. But it was more about like having a really intense smoky eye for the grunge look of the 90s that I remember. So I'm going to take some of that Icon, and I'm also going to put it underneath my lower lid. Alright, and next I'm going to take this lovely deep burgundy color called Muse, and I'm using a precision round eyeshadow brush for this one. And I'm going to be applying this to the majority of my middle upper lid. And lastly, I'm going to be taking this like kind of pale champagne-y shimmer color. It is called Shell, and I'm just going to be using this to do my inner corners, highlight my brow bone, and also just blend out and really smokify like the eyeshadow I already have on here. Next, I'm gonna curl my lashes real quick. Now, it is up to you whether you want to do eyeliner or not. Like I said, from what I remember, the cat eye look in the 90s wasn't really a thing. Cat eyeliner didn't seem to really start catching on until like mid-2000s. From what I remember, I could be wrong, I'm probably wrong. But I actually think like in the 90s, like eyeliner wasn't that big of a thing. Like I'm sure, especially for the grunge look, I think it was more just about like having that really smoked out eye and like, you know, tons of dark smoked out makeup and then just tons of mascara. So you can do that if you want to for accuracy's sake, but I have such tiny eyes that I feel like liner is like necessary for me. So I'm just gonna do like a really subtle liner look and just basically just follow close to the lash line. I'm not gonna wing it out or anything like that. I'm just gonna do like, you know, the most basic eyeliner. And by the way, I am using the felt tip eyeliner pen from Star Looks. I can't remember exactly what it's called because I use it so much that the name has like rubbed off, has worn off. Is anyone else like annoyed by that? Like I like the metallic packaging of a lot of these products. It looks really cool, but it just seems like it rubs off so much easier. It's like, what's up with that? Alright, so there's my eyeliner. I actually went a bit further with it than I intended to, but oh well. So next I'm going to be doing mascara, and I'm going to be using their Real mascara from Benefit. And you're probably going to want to do at least 2 or 3 layers of mascara, because having like the really thick, clumpy lashes along with the, you know, the smoked out eye look is really one of the main things I remember about like the 90s grunge look. Alright, and lastly we're gonna do a dark lip, because of course this is a grunge look, so we have to have a dark lip. And I'm going to be using the color Vampira from Kat Von D in the Everlasting Liquid Lipstick. I just messed that all up. I'm going to be using Kat Von D's Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in the color Vampira, which is like this really dark, like burgundy red. You can use, you know, just regular black lipstick. You can use like really dark reds or browns. Like browns were very big in the 90s. So any kind of dark lip like that. There weren't so many like crazy colors, but I think there were like some kind of purpley reds and pinks and stuff like that. Any kind of lip color, it's gonna instantly read, you know, like grunge. So yeah, that's it. That's my finished grunge makeup look. Hopefully you guys like it. Let me know in the comments below what you think, or if you have like a different recollection of what the 90s were like, what the grunge makeup trends were, if you lived through that time. My buns are getting so messy. I got messy buns. But yeah, hopefully someone liked this and found it helpful. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you here on my channel as part of my coven of beautiful spoopies. And as always, never forget that you are beautiful just the way you are, and to always be yourself. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!